Mm-hmm. Okay, beautiful. Looks like the stream has started. So, good evening, everyone, on this lovely Tuesday. We will go ahead and call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. If you would like to follow along with the agenda, did the agenda make it into the description?
It should have.
I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah,
um,
it's on there.
you can follow along with the agenda
It's
in
on
the
the
chat.
description.
Oh, is it? Okay, I can't see a description for some reason. So we'll just. Oh, it's down here. Lovely. Okay. Anyway, and then if you would like to make sure you're tracked for attending this meeting tonight, there is a Google form. Please fill out the Google form as well as put a greeting in the chat for the visibility that you are here. And basically, we want to remind you all that at the end of the meeting, we do have an open session. So if you have any questions that you would like the board to help you with, please go ahead and think them up and put them in the chat ahead of time. That way we can answer them when we get to that section of the meeting. So then I will go ahead and start with the agenda. We want to recap any off-cycle board actions and votes. We did not have any this last month, so that is very easy. And then we will go with our plan discussions from scheduling visiting parties. We have security on with us tonight, and they have a few things they would like to discuss. I will throw it over to them.
Hello, I'm Sam. I've met some of you folks. I use she, her pronouns. Thank you for having us. We had a really, really good meeting with Allie and John yesterday. So just appreciate you letting us kind of come and say something. I don't know if Quinlan, who some of y'all may recognize a little bit more, they were there on site last year. They're also an English teacher. So I was kind of hoping they would be here to be able to kind of speak some of this, but basically we're looking at like the harassment policy, and we want to kind of tighten it up and be really, really definitive in some things. Do you have a question, Christina?
I just wanted to say that Quinlan just joined. So.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, wording, I think something that we've talked about a lot this year is wording can be really vague. I use the example of, because I think this is something that's really relevant that all of us are kind of thinking about right now. ICE agents, when you hear the word staging, I'm sure to each one of you, that could mean something different. To me, it means that 6 or 7 cars are kind of creating a convoy and they're going to go create a big action. But to some people, staging could be 2 cars, 1 car. So really the root of what I'm trying to say with that is I think we should be really definitive in some of this language and just not leave room for gray areas, if that makes sense.
Do you have a copy of our current policy? Is there something specific in it you think might be a gray area?
Yeah, Quinlan, you're on here now. Do you want to hop on and kind of speak to some of the things that we were chatting about yesterday as far as the harassment policy? We went over it together. Let me pull it up.
I was gonna say I was just about to pull it up so that I could kind of read the exact spot that I'd noticed. Okay, I think yep. So, well, hello, by the way, for anybody that I haven't met before. I recognize a couple of faces just from working security the past 2 years with Anime Detour. Fantastic event. I was just talking to my hairstylist who I ran into last year there, and we were just talking about, they're like, I just got an email today. So, excited for Anime Detour 2026. The speaking on the note of the harassment policy, it was the portion that was defining. Where am I? Oh, I scrolled too far. It says other examples of harassment include sexual images in public spaces, deliberate intimidation, stalking, following, harassing photography or recording, sustained disruption of talks or other events, inappropriate physical contact, and unwelcome sexual attention. Um, the spots that I think are create gray areas are the inappropriate physical contact and unwelcome sexual attention, because those, not that I'm sure none of us think that that's vague. We know what that means, but that can be twisted by somebody. That can be easily misinterpreted, either subconsciously or, deliberately. Um, and I personally advocate for direct language. I think what the example I gave yesterday was when I remember doing um, suicide prevention training when I was an RA in college, and one of the things that uh, the lady quick quizzed us about before we even went into everything was, "Hey, what would you say to somebody if they came to you and you had a feeling that they were thinking of hurting themselves?" I'll answer your question in just a second. And we were she was like, anything that isn't, are you thinking of killing yourself? Are you thinking of taking your, not even taking your life? I think it was like, just like as much of deliberate language as you can, so that it is known, it is real, it is I don't know. That's and so in my head, using things like saying sexual harassment, sexual assault, rape, while are heavy words, I mean they're written into law, and it helps create a net for all of you to be able to fall back on that and be like, we've deliberately said these things. Otherwise, unwanted attention can be spun by a lot of people, and I've watched it get spun by when some of the conversations I've had with uh, detourees. So yeah, go ahead.
So I don't know if you can see the screen that I started sharing. I want to know, is this the document that you were looking at?
Yes.
I've got policies on 5 corners of the website, so I just wanted to check to make sure I was like following along the right one. Okay.
Yep.
Um, that was my question. I don't know if you wanted to keep talking or if we should feedback.
I think that was the main thing I had noticed and had kind of flagged as a concern that would be helpful in the future situations. Not even the major one that we had mainly met about yesterday, but even an instance that I'd had where something that kind of bothered me, and especially the language that was used in the situation that was dismissive, was last year a performer, somebody was sexually harassing a performer, and, and a detour worker, I don't know, a staff member, volunteer, I don't know who, had said, yeah, we have a lot of problems with that. We just told them that they needed to leave her alone, because, at Anime Detour, we do have a lot of neurospicy people. That bothered me because, I mean, neurodivergent people, um, we can understand social cues and we understand hard lines like that. So like dismissive language like that, especially if it's not very clear out in the policy, can even get confusing for staff members. So
Okay. Yeah, no, I am certainly not against uh writing these in a more direct way. Yes, Michael.
Well, I was just going to comment that I was supposed to be in that meeting yesterday. Unfortunately, I had some other stuff come up. I missed it there because I think I'm probably the principal architect of the vague language in this document. Or at least I was one of the advocates for it, on the basis that I find that having the vague language gives us a lot more lateral freedom to be able to respond to things like that. If you've got people who have too specific of language, sometimes you find those who will intentionally work around the language that's in there. They will do something that's not specifically listed. If you try and intervene on them, they'll say, well, that's not what's listed. You listed all these other specific things. having a little bit more vague language in there means that if we do have a situation where something like that, obviously staff, that was a very improper reaction last year. I wish we knew who that was so we could do a little bit more direct coaching on that, but that's something that I'm definitely going to add to our battle plan notes now, to address that anything like that should be reported up through operations, if not operations, to the chair team with us. Because anything like that, especially involving our guests, should it all come up to the chair team for us to be able to address too and speak to the people involved in. That's all I got for
security.
now. If you wanna
Yeah.
go,
Mhm.
Yeah. One, I think we just want to. There was some things where it's just like, people are asked to leave for the night, and I think we would like a little more hard line approach on some of this stuff, um, because truly it's harm reduction, and I understand having more vague language to cover a more blanketed area, but part of the problem um, that we run into with the vague language is everybody was socialized different. So what might be unwanted attention to me might be different than unwanted attention to you. So I think just a little more tightening up some of that, and then just having everybody really on the same page that if this happens, this is how we're going to handle it. Like if somebody is harassing people, I think they lose their privilege of being there this year. I don't think it's a comeback tomorrow. I think they lose their privilege of being there this year, and there has to be some more, like, I hate to use the word hardline, but I think there has to be some strong policies put in place so people that there are consequences to actions, because that
oh,
sends a message that that something will be done about it, and it minimizes that behavior as a whole.
yeah, we absolutely do remove people. Especially even last year, there was individuals we asked to leave the convention and not come back. Which should be built into I'm trying to find where the exact line in there is, but there is leeway in there for us to remove people at our discretion, which we definitely do. Allie could probably verify this. It's at least a couple times a year for one reason or another, that we have people leave.
Yeah, there's at least 3 I can think of off the top of my head from last year, and I'm sure that's low.
Yeah.
And then go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely hear you on the trying to kind of cover as many things, making it more broad. I offer a thought that and I recommend that you view the term sexual harassment, sexual assault. Rape is a very specific term, but sexual harassment, sexual assault are actually pretty broad. Uh, that's pretty broad language in the law. If you look at the law, it covers a lot of the things that some of the things that you lay out here: stalking, using coercion to accomplish um, whatever thing they are trying to do. Um, I would offer the idea of using the language saying include this includes sexual harassment, sexual assault, rape, other forms of sexual violence that are defined by Minnesota law, and you can even cite the law that Minnesota has there. Um, and I know that it sounds kind of intense, but I mean I think about what's going on right now, and that we've never been intense in our society. We've never really had a hard line about sexual violence, and that helps perpetuate it. And really, I hate saying this, but as someone who's a survivor, somebody who first responded to this situation, this pretty big situation last year, um, the language where it kind of like is more discreet, pushes, or I don't know, doesn't say what it is. Just it's always so much more harmful because, like, personally, I'd like to yell it from the rooftops. No, these are things that are not okay. This we're gonna use direct language because it's that serious, um, and being as vocal about it as possible, and as direct about it as possible. I think does more good than it would harm. And actually, I would argue it protects a lot more people. It protects the staff, or uh, protects the right people, I should say, at the event.
Allie?
I was just going to add, in addition to what Quinlan was saying there, you can basically repeat includes but is not limited to, again, in that delineation of what's covered by the law, in addition to including the specific statute that defines it. That helps protect some of the broadness while also getting the very specific examples right there in front of people so that they can't weasel their way around those things.
Okay. Lori?
So I guess I'm kind of seeing two issues. The first issue is tightening up the language, which I believe using sexual harassment and sexual assault indeed would give us enough leeway to sort of, it's both vague and harsh enough at the same time. Uh, but it's also kind of an internal training thing so that people understand kind of, that why this was not an appropriate response, and how we deal with the fact that we may be dealing with someone who does have accessibility issues or neurodivergent issues, but they're still doing something that is inappropriate at the same time, because we both have to walk on keeping everyone safe, but at the same time you also don't want people coming back and being like, my ADA was violated, which unfortunately I've heard of happening. So there's two kind of things I'm seeing getting mixed there.
Okay. Michael?
I just wanted to go back to the point made earlier about how everybody's socialized differently and thus expects different things. Not everybody's going to know what one thing or another is. Um, it's kind of one of the reasons why we kept things a little bit vague, because if you list something like sexual assault, what one person does in their mind, they might not mean it as sexual assault. And so when you get a little bit too specific, some people might not think that's what they're doing. When you list something that's just unwanted advances, it lets us come to confront them and say that, hey, what you're doing is making this person uncomfortable. It is being very inappropriate to them. We need to do something about it, as opposed to kind of pigeonholing us into what is a letter of the law situation. Because part of our plan of the policy is not to be a letter of the exact legal law. It's to actually give us broader capability past the law, in a matter of being able to respond to things that might not be a legal matter, might not, quite reach that level, but is affecting our community and is making somebody uncomfortable.
Okay, before I flip it over to Lori, I just want to kind of go over what we can and can't do at the board level. So at the board level, what we can definitely do if we choose to is add more data points to this harassment policy, which I don't feel like, would be a problem. If that makes people more comfortable that we have more specific language in there, that's fine, because we're not going to also get rid of the general language. We'll just add on top of it. But so when it comes to like who gets removed, when, and why, that is basically for detour operations and detour chair team. The board doesn't really make those decisions at the Anime Detour Convention. So I just wanted to put that out there. Lori, go ahead.
I was going to say this is a board level decision, but I would just be kind of curious also to discuss not a board level, sorry, a chair team level decision. It would be interesting to discuss. We're getting into kind of one strike versus two strike and stuff like that. Like, do we want to give someone a warning that maybe they're unintentionally doing this, whereas somebody who's obviously doing something much more severe would not get that sort of soft landing? And how do we delineate that so it's fair for everyone? Because we don't want to be at all caught in a situation where, like, well, that person got treated differently because like they run a big merchandising booth or something.
Yeah, and like I said, that is, and like you said, that's really a chair team operations at con decision. Allie, go ahead.
With kind of going back to what Niketa was saying about what counts as harassment and what counts as unwanted sexual advances and all those kind of things. I'm sure every one of us has had the annual sexual harassment training at our work, and one of the things that's, at least in the version that they give us at my work, that's emphasized over and over again, is that it's not up to the person who's delivering that behavior, it's up to the person on the receiving end as to whether it counts or not. If you make a crude joke to your friend and your friend's fine with it, that's not harassment. If you make a crude joke to a stranger that upsets them, and it's the exact same joke, now that's harassment. And so it's not up to us to decide. It's not up to the person who had the behavior in question to decide. We need to go off of what the person who was on the receiving end of it felt.
Okay. So I think probably what our best options are here is going to be to maybe look at the specific writing, post meeting, and maybe email back and forth a little bit with security to see what you guys think is a good idea and what doesn't need to be done. I don't think we're ready to rewrite it right now at this meeting.
Yeah, and I don't think there needs to be honestly a lot changed, because I agree there needs to be some room in there for one-off situations, right? But just adding some of those things, I think is our biggest concern on it.
Yeah.
So that's really all we had. One other thing that I did want to mention that we touched on last night that I think is a good idea that I just want to revisit. And I don't know what level of decision this is, but we talked about having a couple of volunteers that are like trauma-informed advocates on site. It'd be really, really nice to have a couple of those folks that if we do have a situation, we can assist somebody to a quiet space where they can sit with an advocate. We do know some folks that do some training around that. Out Front has an anti-violence program that does some training around that. So just something to kind of dig into. I don't think it's not like a make it or break it for us. We love working with y'all, and we really appreciate being able to be here and have this conversation. It's not fun stuff to talk about, but we also recognize how important it is, especially given everything that's going on right now. We've seen how, like Quinlan mentioned, this stuff has been just how sexual assault has played such a role in our society. And I think, none of us want it here at Detour. So I appreciate this conversation.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I know we have an accessibility team and there are a ton of people on ops. Maybe we can reach out to them and see if anyone would be interested in taking training for that. I'm not sure. But we can
Yep, and we do
certainly
have it
talk
on our
about it.
list of things to talk about with our team for ops, but also it'd be, we would not object to having more people on staff who also go through that training. But that's more of a detour level thing than a board level thing.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, then we will stop sharing the screen and go back to our agenda. So thank you so much for joining us, Security. You can stay on this call if you want to, or you can pop off. That's totally fine. I don't hold it against you.
Thank you. I'm gonna get to my emails. I appreciate it though. Again, thank you. And yeah, definitely email us. We're happy to keep talking about this. We love working with y'all, and we want to make this as safe as an event as possible. My family comes out to this, so I take it very personally.
Gotcha. Perfect. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks, y'all. Bye.
Okay. So then the next thing on the agenda would be our finance update.
All right. Can everyone hear me?
Mhm.
Yes. Great. Perfect. All right. So I have our financials. Let's see. So in our current checking account, oh goodness, sorry. My calendar doesn't want to show me the whole display. All right. In our checking account, we currently have $328,960.90. And then in our education fund, our savings account, we have $3,098.63. And then in our community fund savings account, we have $14,508.48. And that's our current as of today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now it is Anime Detour's turn. Go, Michael.
I don't know if y'all are aware, but we have a convention in about 6 weeks or so. JC didn't give me any specific updates for anything. It looks like everything on the deadlines that I can see is going pretty well. We have a couple little things in the works with, especially with our marketing department. We'll see how much of that finishes up here before the convention. Otherwise, the only other thing we had is we might have a potential test for our rental agreement, but we're still figuring out if that's even going to happen or not. So, other than that, yeah, it's convention crunch time pretty much.
Cool. All right, next up, we're gonna go to Jacob with charity.
Hey everybody. Forgive me, I got a little bit of a cold. I was gonna bring up a couple things. So we did get a piece of mail from Can Do Canines that came in. I'll make sure I send that off to people. It was just like a thank you letter from last year for our work with Detour, so that was kind of cool. Not a lot of other news, as mentioned, just mostly focused on trying to get stuff together for con. That's been most of the focus lately. Not a lot of other big news on the charity front. Pretty hyper focused towards getting stuff ready for con. So not a lot of other news, just that little piece of mail. I'll make sure I send over some pictures of it. That got handed to me at the last Detour meeting, so I'll make sure everyone can see that. That's been really it. Just trying to get stuff ready for Detour. Yeah.
Wonderful. All right, next up is Michaela with communications.
Howdy. Just as a reminder to everyone, JASM is doing their 2026 J quiz on the 15th. I believe that is Sunday. But they do have some doorbuster prizes going on. So you can see what those are on our social medias. There is also a secret code for registration, Totoro-san, all caps. So be sure to register as soon as possible.
That sounds fun. Okay, Allie, special events.
So, as already mentioned, we have a convention coming up in about 6 weeks. So, we're kind of in the quiet time for special events right now. For those who are on the team, I will be soon starting to get a list of what we plan to do this year into our Discord. I've just got to go ahead and get some Detour stuff done first before I collect all of that information. I do also plan to get the registration process for Pride started up this week because that was pretty cool last year, and I think we should do it again. It was also pretty hot last year, so everyone who comes for that, please bring like fans and water and stuff. That's pretty much it. We are definitely still always looking for people to join up. If you're interested, it's special events at animetwincities.org. Just email and I'll get you hooked up with the forum if I think you are a good fit, and we'll get you in on the team and you can start doing the cool stuff. And that's it.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is a 15-minute break, which I vote that we skip. Can I get a second?
Second.
Wonderful. All right, everybody do the hands thing if you agree. All right. Thank you. We will skip the break. So then next up is our storage unit is up for lease renewal. So I did email back and forth with the lady a little bit because I'm not in love with our location, but it's fine. So she sent us, I'm going to share it if I can find the window that I put it in. Here it is. The lease terms for a 36-month lease, because that is what we have done twice before. Right now, the way that they do it is it's kind of like the way that they've been doing it is they would charge us separately each month for like gas and electricity, stormwater fees, property taxes. This time they are now, instead of having that, it's just flat rate. I think right now it averages like between 13 and 1400 a month. So it is up a little bit, but I wouldn't say it's egregiously higher than what we've been paying. Um, I didn't ask how much it costs, but she's like, we do have another property a block away that's 3,000 square feet. Our current units are 1,800 square feet, and I feel like we don't need 3,000 square feet unless we're going to try and hold meetings there, which was an idea I had for a second, but it's probably a terrible idea. I doubt that there's internet. There's probably not chairs, but we could like set up our whole own little thing. No, okay, I didn't think so. So, I assume we need to go ahead and vote on if we want to sign this lease. I need to make it so I can see everybody on the screen again. Yes.
Before that, do we
Yes.
want to talk to our logistics?
I did.
Okay.
I asked Sean, I'm like, I assume you're happy with the storage space. And he's like, yeah, it's fine. It has a forklift, so I like it. I'm like, okay. um Okay, so vote to a motion to vote to approve the lease for the storage unit for 36 more months. Wonderful. All in favor? Beautiful. Okay, I will reply back to her that we will take it. Then the next item on the agenda is our open session. I haven't seen anyone else say anything in this chat besides us. I don't know if anyone is here for open session.
Well, there's only like
see who the
six.
attendees are?
There's only like 6 people viewing. I think most of that is people in this room
It's us.
already.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, I could only see people who are actively chatting in the participants list, so I can
Sure.
only see the mods basically. I can't tell you who the other people are. They're lurking.
Sure. Well, if they didn't post in, hi, I'm here for attendance, then they're, I don't know. Then they don't get to do open session either. Yeah. So I guess then, we can go ahead and call the meeting to a close for the evening as of 7:33 p.m. It's the longest one we've had in a while. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.